Hello, I'm Candy, and welcome to this episode of the Backstage Pass. This episode is unbelievably amazing, and it is with someone who is very, very highly valued in the ballet industry. Welcoming Julie Bowers. Julie Bowers is an executive director and co-creator of Grad Pro and has had a successful professional dance career, joining the Royal Ballet Company in 1984 and performing works by Frederick Ashton, Kenneth MacMillan, and, of course, David Bintley, alongside classics from Serenade and Penguin Cafe to Swan Lake. After her performing career, Julie embarked upon a BA Honours in International History and American Studies and later completed qualifications in project management to support her in her endeavours in management and leadership roles. Alongside this, Julie retained her connection with the dance community, teaching and choreographing from Northern Ballet School, and later as deputy head of dance at the Hammond School in Chester. She has done so many things. She's just been amazing, and what she's doing and what she talks about in this podcast, you will just have the same experience that I had, where you just think you're changing things for dancers, for young dancers that's coming up from the school, bridging the gap into the company and making the life of a dancer just that much more rich. I think that's enough of a drum roll. I'm sure you're eagerly sat in your seats. Let's go. It is an absolute pleasure to welcome you, Julie. It's been so much fun to get you into the studio today. Technical difficulties and all of that. But, we're pros. We push on. How are you? Is everything good? Aside from all of that.
Yeah, no, I'm really good. Really busy time at the moment, so trying to juggle 100 different balls in at one time, but all very exciting. And and I'm, to be honest, I'm buzzing actually at the moment. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking this time to speak to me today. I mean, I've been watching what you've been doing, and it really, really is incredible. But I wanted to know, more what goes on behind the scenes, because that's more what my podcast is about. So I want to start with one really big first question. So what is your main purpose?
Okay, so I've sort of done a lot of things since I stopped dancing professionally, but completely in the world of dance. Sort of tried to get out of it, but not successfully, but that's not a bad thing. And tried to sort of build up different skills and other things, basically to help people. And I think I've sort of found my niche during COVID with vocational graduates. Possibly because my own daughter was a university graduate at the same time, and I recognised in her at the time things that she was not getting, she was not fulfilling, mental problems that were happening because of the situation that we all found ourselves in. And since doing my projects with vocational graduates, I've definitely found the niche that I want to help. I don't know whether that's a giving back or whether that's purely because they're of an age where they take it in, they understand, and actually they appreciate.
Definitely. I mean, that time when there's so much going on, there is so many pressures. So to have that security is really, really important. I mean, you spoke to me in a separate conversations about, that you really, really are passionate about helping students with sort of anxiety and, the rejection, the knockbacks that we all get, in all life, not just in dancers, but also helping people with, their careers. I just wonder where your drive comes from. Does it go way back?
I think it does. I've always been an incredibly hands-on person. Even when I was training, I was always, well, this sounds really pretentious now, but not meant to be. I was always the one who wanted to learn everything and make sure that I knew what I was doing. And actually, recently a friend said to me, "You were always the one who knew. We always came to you and said, Julie, what the steps?" And I hadn't even realised it had rubbed off like that. But I think I've always wanted to keep going. When I stopped dancing, I was only 27, and that was a choice. That wasn't anything sort of dramatic, and just felt that I could still do loads, and I'm still looking every day for ways. I do have an energy that comes from being able to please, and I don't know whether that's a dancer's thing, maybe it is, not please, but please myself. So the confidence that comes with helping somebody fuels me on to have the strength to do the next thing. That makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you are helping people, it does make you feel so, so, so good. It's there are no selfless good deeds, if you say, in the world. And so, I think that when you are helping someone through different things, different stages in their lives, you're almost healing that part of you that needed healing, even if you weren't even aware of it at that time. So, you could be slightly triggered by things that, were unknown to you back then, but you're like, actually, that was difficult for me back then. So, to be able to pass on that wisdom to younger dancers and to give them that platform so that they feel that they have that. Because I think, what you're doing, and we'll go into that in more detail in a second, but what you're doing is profound, and it's such a big change for dancers, because you are the bridging the gap from being students into being professional dancers. And that's the bit I remember, that auditioning, the stage of my life, and I was so stressed and it felt lonely. Even though people were saying audition for here, audition for there, it was still, you were alone with it, and it wasn't really talked about. So I think to have someone like you, Julie, to go, we are here for you. We are going to help you get through those stages to where you want to be, whatever dance capacity that is, and just go. I think it's really wonderful what you're doing.
Thank you. It's interesting as well, because when you say lonely, you're absolutely right. The pre-professional course that I just started, we've only been doing a week, but I've already made huge observations that actually people just want you to spend time with them personally. And what I've done on the back of last week is I've arranged one-to-ones with each of my 12 dancers. Next week, we're going to do like a half an hour session, and I've timetabled it. They're very excited, but I sort of thought, they not only need the 12 of them in a classroom where they're being supported, they also need their own space. So I'm learning from them as I'm going along. And actually, one lady, and I won't say her name, actually burst into tears on Thursday last week and said, "No one's ever been this kind." And I was just like, I haven't done anything. I've just literally made you a course that you can come to. But she was just, having that individual attention was something that she'd craved and needed and actually hadn't been given. And I found that very sad.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because dancing, it's, you are a team. It's when you think of a production, and it's a team full of dancers and everything that's surrounding the dancers that's bringing it all together. But when you are you, and you are an individual, and you are trying to be part of this big industry, or it's actually not that big, is it, in hindsight, but this industry, getting into that bit feels so lonely. And so to feel, like I said, that supportive network. I think if I was a dancer now and there was something like that, I probably would be in tears as well, because you feel heard, you feel supported in a way that's not been done.
Yeah, and actually another thing we did last week, which is quite interesting, is we sat down and talked about what we liked outside dance. And I said to the first lady, "So what do you like outside dance?" And she said, "Well, I like contemporary." And I was like, "No, outside dance." "No, outside. Oh, I like baking." I was like, So we did that, and actually, as we got round the group, they started to be ready with their answers. But it was, I even asked Yvette. Yvette Knight was there teaching. I asked her what she liked doing. And I told them myself. I said I like cycling, and I've been doing painting by numbers. And they all smiled, and it was like, oh my goodness, there is something else here. And I said to them right from day one, you need a plan B. You need a plan B now, not a plan B 10 years down the line, or when you can't get a job. You need a plan B. And we started to talk about how we would use their transferable skills. So I think that's another concept that needs to be, because we all do it. I never even thought about after the Royal Ballet. I was like, okay, here I am, let's dance. The concept of not having any clue what you were going to do afterwards when your body stopped working for you, I know, that kind of thing. So I think this is obviously hindsight from what, well, you and I remember, is you remember the things that you perhaps should have thought about earlier.
Yeah, because I remember, I had the chat with David Bintley saying that I couldn't be in the company anymore. I walked out and then I was like, I had clarity and I felt like it was the right thing. But then I was like, now what? And I really had not thought about it. And it's taken me until now to really, really find my path. I was sort of teetering around the edge trying to find that, but because it was just not even a thought. And I think that's quite interesting, because I'm wondering if dancers maybe just think, I can only think about this because this is all that should matter. If I think about a plan B, is that going to distract myself? But actually, you do need to think about it, not when you're a young student necessarily, but to have other aspirations and things that balance you as a performer. Your work-life balance should be in place, not just eat, sleep, everything ballet. And I think that you do become obsessed with it when you're a performer. You are obsessed with your career. I think you kind of have to be. But there does need to be this break where you go, this is the time for me. So I'll do baking or I'll do cycling, and just to see where that path is going to lead you.
I mean, to be honest, I think, COVID had its good and its bad. I think one major thing for me is that up until COVID, I would say I've had two wonderful daughters who are 24 and 27, but apart from that, dance literally was my every moment. And actually, when COVID hit, I suddenly thought, I am actually going to have to do something else in this house. I mean, I wasn't furloughed, so I was still running BBO, but I thought, you have to find something else, because there may not be anything else. And my husband's always said to me, you can do all of this stuff yourself. You don't need organizations. And I think COVID gave me the actual confidence to go forward and think, I can do this. And actually, it's strength to strength. And again, that's my self-belief in the fact that something started working, so it snowballs. And it was funny because a girl last week went for an audition, and she came back and she came into class and she was absolutely off the scale. And I was like, oh my goodness. And she said, I had such a good audition. I had such a lovely day. Doesn't matter if I didn't get the part. I feel amazing. And you could see it in her. And I was like, it's that simple. It's that simple.
Absolutely.
It just takes that a little bit. So yes, I think it's just remembering that there is more to it, even though it can be the most important thing, because there's nothing wrong with that. It's just keeping perspective is probably the word, really, I think.
Yeah. And you said that you're a big part of the BBO dance. So and then you left, but you had Grad Pro running on in the background, didn't you? So what was the transition from BBO dance to Grad Pro?
Okay, so basically, there was only a couple of us running BBO through COVID, so it was pretty tough. But we did. I think, to be honest, what it probably opened my mind to is the fact that I had to really use social media. I mean, I grew the membership of BBO by 37% during COVID, which was insane, because that was because people were looking at social media, and actually it was probably the best thing, because they, we got international people joining from countries like Virgin Islands and stuff that we'd never, Tel Aviv. It was just insane.
Wow.
So I think first of all, my concept that the world was getting smaller, and actually I could probably do something bigger than my little ideas, if that makes sense. So really, coming out of COVID, I decided to start Grad Pro with Brandon Lawrence, and I approached BBO and I said, I'm going to do this alongside my job, and they were absolutely fine. They said, as long as it didn't interfere, obviously, with my CEO role, and actually, I think it helped, because people actually thought it was a BBO thing, and actually that helped both sides, to be honest. And then Grad Pro, the first year was really good. The second year, I got amazing sponsorship, and I thought, actually, this is working. And to be honest, I turned 60 this year, and in January I thought, I need to make this my brand. I need a legacy. And I left BBO in January, and straight away started looking at how I was going to build the brand and how to build the ethos from a younger age. And actually, I cannot believe how much has happened in 6 months. So I'm believing in I'm trusting the process at the moment. But I will say one huge thing, that the people who have helped me with Grad Pro, my friends, are those people who had the same outlook as me through my life and have been with me through my career. And I've hooked up with people like Stephen Wicks, who was in the company with me, who is now helping me and is incredible. And Laura Connor and these people from Rashna Humji, these people all from my past who really want to help. And actually, it's so lovely to have that support from people who haven't known me for years. And incredibly helpful, actually.
Well, you're definitely onto a good thing. I mean, I'd love you to tell me more about what you're doing with Grad Pro. I mean, I watched something with you really recently. I think it was another podcast, and you were talking about all the amazing stuff that's coming with it. But the thing that really, really struck a chord was the mentor element of it. So please, go nuts. Tell me all about it. When I was hearing about it, I was like, this is what we need. This is what dancers really, really need to fully understand and embrace themselves as an artist, not a student, as an artist.
Yeah, I think the original concept came, and actually it was originally Brandon's sort of thoughts when we first thought about doing the actual performance opportunity, which is what we like to call Grad Pro as opposed to a competition, because it is actually more that sort of type of event. Brandon said straight away, we need to if you want to get the directors of the companies on board, you need to get the companies involved. So we approached at that time 7 different soloists or principals from some of the major companies, and people, for example, like Dominic North and Bethany Kingsley Garner, and obviously Brandon was helping, and Sean Bates. And we basically asked them on a Zoom if they would be autistic mentors and coaches for Grad Pro. And they still, in year 4, I've just emailed them and they're coming back and saying, yeah, we absolutely want to help again. So they basically coach the finalists between February and April. And that has proved incredibly supportive. The dancers absolutely love the fact that they have a one-to-one with these knowledgeable people. So when I started the pre-professional course, I decided that it would be a good idea to have a mentor for each of them. I've consequently got 15 mentors from my past and Brandon's past, and people current and everything, all international. And I'm just pairing up the students this week with the people that I feel would help them. And it's going to be basically a mentor for them during the 15 weeks of the course, and then ongoing. And all these mentors have just said, absolutely anything I can do to help.
That's so good because they've been through it and they understand.
Yeah. And what I've also, straight away tried to say to the students, I need to know what kind of companies you're thinking of going to, what kind of solos you're thinking of doing. Because actually, even last week, they learned a new solo, and one of the girls said to me, "Oh my goodness, I didn't even know this solo. I love this. I want to work on it." And last night, they all sent me their top 5 companies, 3 words about themselves, because I wanted them to send me 3 USPs about themselves, and then sort of 2 classical solos, and then their mentors I basically are on that idea of what they're looking at has made me realize which type of person to put them with. So fingers crossed. It's sort of a snowball thing. I'll see what happens. I don't actually know how it's going to work, but hopefully it will.
That's amazing because, we were sort of, the Royal Ballet School was amazing, but we were sort of given solos that, yes, that were sort of like, trying to think of them now, like the Bluebird, and there were all these sort of variations, but there's so many variations that suit different dancer types, the big powerful jump ones, and like who does that suit, and using those solos to get them into companies, to get them seen at their best, what they absolutely love performing. And sometimes it is those little nuggets of variations that people haven't seen before.
It was just like that. It was almost like an electric light moment, because this solo was Awakening of Flora, I think it's called. I probably might have got that wrong. And Rachel Hester was teaching them, and one of the grads just suddenly, it was just her solo. And we were like, oh, I said, goodness sake, you've got to do that. And I said to them all, when you find it, you'll find it. And that's what you need on your show reel, because that's what you need to show. And I think they sort of got that because they saw her doing it. And there's like another couple of girls who also had the same, because it was very stylized. And I think, as you say, you can teach a whole room big swans, but we're not all a big swan. And I'm certainly not a big swan as a little person. And I think you have to, and it's not just the height, it's, as you say, it's the jumps or the strength. Or, I mean, one thing I have noticed, and actually I went to watch the Fontaine competition last week at the RAD, and it was very interesting when it's not particularly anybody, but when students choose a solo that requires hopping on point, I'm not going to say which one, and basically under nerves cannot hop on point. There is no reason to even do that solo. Why would you put yourself through that? When that student is perfectly capable of doing something where they can feel confident even under nerves. And I think that's kind of, and things like, a turning solo. Well, fine, if you can turn with no problem, fine, but not if you're going to be nervous. You've got to take well, know that you're going to wobble. You could wobble, and you have to save it. So yeah, I think that has to be thought about. And same with contemporary solos, and finding, one of the things that the judges said right at the beginning of Grad Pro is, if you're showing 2 solos, you have to show versatility. There's no point in doing one solo, that's a floaty classical number and then floating across in a contemporary number, because you haven't shown any sort of, variable strengths. And I say that to them right at the beginning. You have to, especially these days, Candy, when we didn't have this so much, but now they have to do everything, and literally everything.
Gosh, yeah.
I mean, I saw Romeo and Juliet the other week, the Ballet Cymru, which is amazing, but the ballroom scene was clogging, Welsh clogging, and it was brilliant.
That is good.
Yeah, so yeah, perfect example.
Yeah, I mean, it triggered something in me actually, because when you were saying about hopping on point, I kind of remember I think it was the first year assessment, I had to do something, and I was given a solo, and it didn't feel like me, and so I didn't perform it as well as I could, but I was doing what they wanted. And for the second year appraisals, or whatever it's called, they were sort of giving me a solo which was fast because I'm very quick on my feet and my footwork was always pretty clean. And I said, no, I want to do Aurora Act 2. Is it da-da, da-da? They went, what? like, like, are you insane? And I was like, no, I want to do it because I knew that that was my personality. And they were so used to seeing me being, that I was good at doing fast, but it's not what I felt confident and comfortable doing. So, and then I got to do it for like the open evening and they asked me to do it then. And I just felt like the bee's knees. I felt amazing because they allowed me to do something that was absolutely me. So it's so important.
Yeah, and I think, you're very right. They go through their grad year and they say, right, today we're learning Gamzatti. Okay. Even if you're not remotely a Gamzatti, you are now learning Gamzatti. So then you can't do Gamzatti and you come out feeling incredibly stressed. Why can't I do the solo that person who is a natural for that role can do it? And psychologically, that's just not good.
No.
Same with companies. One girl said to me, I'd like to go. This wasn't this pre-professional course. This was last year. She said, I'd like to go to this company, and I went, well, but you're not the right type for that company. She said, well, that's a bit harsh. And I said, no, it's not harsh. There's no point in you trying for that company because you won't, and you'll get a rejection, and then you'll take it personally. Be really sensible, because you can't change who you are. You are especially now with heights and, partnering, everyone's getting so much taller. It's just a really important thing. But, mentoring, I think, just to have a voice I said to them, they said, what do we ask the mentors? I said, you can ask them what happens if your ribbon breaks on, crap goes on stage, or you lose a piece of your head. I mean, anything like that. The stupidest things. If you want to ask it.
Yeah.
These things are there. They happen. So
Yeah, because you learn on the job quite a lot. And even with the mentoring, there'll be unexpected things that happen. But I think it's really, really good. I mean, if I was to be a mentor and people would be asking me the crazy things that happens on stage, I think to open up and talk about it and to have that conversation, to be really honest, is going to help them to understand every single aspect of every performance, and no two shows are the same, and that can be quite exciting, but it's also a little bit daunting, especially as the dance steps are always the same, yet the show isn't the same, and it's things, sometimes it doesn't feel the same, like you're on stage, but you don't really feel present on the stage. Your mind is somewhere else. And there are all these things that you don't think about until you get into the company. So how nice to have someone who can go, look, sometimes you're there, but you're not there. You just got to make it work. You just got to do it.
absolutely. We also started to talk about sort of like company classroom etiquette, and I laugh about it now, but it is a thing. Where do you go on the bar?
Oh God.
The dance world would think we're absolutely crazy. I mean, I will say this, and I'm sure Brandon won't mind me saying this. When he left BRB, I went over to Zurich last year. He just said, "I don't know where to go on the bar." And I went, Brandon, you're a principal of BRB. I think you can. And he said, no, 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 no. He said, I am going to a new company and I have to know where it is correct for me to go on the bar. And I went over in the summer to see him, and I walked into the studio and he said, this is my place on the bar. And that even at that stage, it's just what it is. And I said to them as well, I remember going on tour with the company when I was a student, and I remember in Tokyo doing bar on an ironing board, and they all laughed, and I said, absolutely true. As I stand here, the last place that was left was the ironing board. I have to do it.
I don't know what to say, but it's so true. Oh my goodness me. I actually remember when I started at BRB, it was like you walked into the studio, everyone firmly puts their hand and stuff. This is my space. This is my dad's space. This is not yours. And then you're like, where the bloody hell do I stand? And you don't know where you stand in the company or physically in the place in the classroom. It's really, really nuts. And you sort of squidge in between, and then someone's sort of like kicking you up the bum, you know. You're just like, this is really stressful.
And I think it's that, it's passing these things on. And I also said to them the other day when we were talking about swans, because they were obviously we're doing big swans. I said we must do normal swans, and you need to work out how your eye line, and you're not on there on your own. In fact, we did one thing the other day. It was a contemporary piece, and I said to them afterwards, two of you are absolutely dire at keeping in line. And I said, and you know who you are. And two of them burst out laughing. And I said, even in contemporary, which is really hard, you've got to look around. It's spatial awareness. And if you're in the ballet, obviously ballet's easier in a way because you've got the set steps. Contemporary's a little bit more difficult to keep the line and stuff. And they laughed, and I said, it's so important. Even when you've got, the marks on the floor and the gaffer tape. I said, you've got a line of gaffer tape and you're still not on it. So it was little things like that, and I just think that they're all. And as I say, I'm learning. I mean, I say I've only done week one of this, but I'm already learning what they need to know, and actually, it's really helpful. I think the other thing I've done as well, which is probably useful for people to know, I after the first and second year of the actual grad pro, I formed a forum with the 4 award winners from both years, and we got together on a Zoom, and I said to them, I need you to feed back to me now what you think we can do better. And it was the guys who were actually more forthcoming. And they said, we love the financial rewards. We love the fact that the money helps, but we really need, or we would have liked to do class or temporary placements with companies.
That's amazing.
And that's why this year I approached 5 companies and they've all had placements. And so far, Aline, you got a contract for BRB2 through that placement. So.
That's incredible. Julie, that's amazing. You must feel over the moon with that kind of achievement, and that's so good. Like you said, it's not a competition. It's something that you're giving them, and at the end, they're not just getting money that supports them, and obviously that is really, really important. But to experience company life, that how incredible is that? I mean, we're really fortunate when we're in the Royal Ballet School because we get chance to work briefly with the company. We get that chance, but that's rare. When people from external are getting these jobs, you're suddenly in there, or if you don't get the jobs, you're not in there. But it's almost like it's this unreachable unknown. And how nice that you're making it, that they can be a part of it, and also to really figure out if that company's for them.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the really lovely things that came out of this time was that New Adventures offered this week's placement. And what they said to me was, we tie it in with the revival of the Swan Lake, because obviously it's 30 years. I can't believe that. 30 years since Swan Lake was created for Matthew Bourne's company. And they said to me, depending whether a lady or a gent wins that award, that placement, we will adapt the placement accordingly. So Amy won that award, and she's going actually 16th of October, and she's joining the week with the ladies, and she's performing she's learning all of that side of things. But just the fact that the whole thing, they worked it round her, or they worked it around the award winner. And the same with Northern Ballet, because I asked them if it was possible for someone to do almost like a touring experience, and Leo went to do the Romeo and Juliet tour at Sadler's Wells, so he got to work with the company actually on tour. So and the other one is Ballet Zurich, because Sophie is going over to Ballet Zurich next year. But it's that kind of, and they've been so accommodating. I think the companies thought I wanted more than I was at. It was like, well, we can't give them. No, just give them the experience. That's all I'm asking. We don't have to do anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and it's worked. Yeah.
On that sort of process of so many things changing, what other things do you feel needs to be changed within the performing industry?
Gosh. Okay. I think what I'm learning, I probably wasn't really aware of this. That sounds like I was really naive, but I don't think I was. I had quite an easy ride, as in I got into the Royal Ballet Company after Royal Ballet School. I didn't really, well, I didn't audition anywhere. So count my blessings. It was an easy ride. However, I think what bothers me now is that there's a lot of focus on, oh my goodness, the graduate is really important. They've got to get this level of whatever diploma they're getting in performing arts, and they have to fulfill this criterion, tick this box, and they're really busy and they can't do this. And then they get to July and they go, right, bye. And all these grads walk out going, what on earth just happened? And I genuinely mean that. And you'll get the one person that gets the contract, and then the rest are literally like, oh God, I thought there was some kind of end to this. I think you have that, they have the belief in their graduate that something is going to suddenly happen. And I'm actually terrified that that's getting worse. Because I think these days everything is so much a tick box, that schools are concentrating so much on what has to be done to get to this criteria, that you lose sight of the fact that that child has wanted to be a dancer since 2.5.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that anything in the graduate is wrong. I'm just saying that I think a lot more care needs to be. I mean, I have 12 graduates who I would say are not mentally ready to have gone into companies yet. And that's terrifying, because they've had a graduate. I mean, some of us didn't even have. I don't remember having a graduate. I think I just don't remember that grad year as an extra. And the fact that, I'm not saying they're not technically ready, mentally they actually are in this like whole sort of fog of, it's like a whirlwind, I think. And I think, the fact that some of these students in grad year wait for this one contract. They wait and they wait, and then they don't get this contract, and they're like, oh my God, I'm not prepared, and that, again, that bothers me. I also very, and generally, I've been in some high profile roles now, and I've enjoyed doing them, but as far as I'm concerned, there's so much corporate protocol that gets in the way of our art form, and I find that tragic. Businesses don't understand the artistic side of it. You've got people running organizations that literally have no artistic experience. How on earth can anybody run a dance organization with no concept? And I think also, when people are getting artistic director jobs, there's no experience. I would say even at 60 and done what I've done, I've still got so much to learn. And I think it's that belief that you've danced, okay. I mean, you can't come out of a company and know everything, because you can't. Nobody can. So I think more care, more attention to the graduates personally. Otherwise, you're going to end up with some very damaged students. When we talk about panorama and other issues, this is a whole concept of anxiety, and people have to be careful.
You do, and we did have like I guess the third year in the Royal Ballet was like a grad class. If I look back, it was all about how we danced and not about how we were doing, and to be mentally prepared. And I love what you're saying about, being in a sort of a director role. And of course, there's no training for that. And, going from dancing to doing that, that's a completely different thing. So maybe there needs to be an element of mindset training for graduate students to prepare them for the knockbacks, because it's inevitable. Even if you do get into a company, there's that role that you wanted that you don't get. There's always something that sets you back. So you need to be able to withstand that. And all it takes is for someone to say, so how are you doing? How are you finding this process? What can we do to make your journey a better one? Because that's where the success is. If you don't have that self-belief, if you're not ready for the knocks and can't deal with it, then you kind of fall to pieces. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened to me. Just it was all about how you danced and not how you were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like we said at the beginning, when it comes down to it, you are the only person who can make yourself be okay. I mean, people can help you, but ultimately it has to be in you. And I know this personally. I mean, I've gone through some issues and everything, but ultimately, when I know I'm okay, it's because I'm okay inside me. It's nothing to do with anybody else, no matter what you think. And it's taken me a long time to realize that. I actually thought to myself the other day when I was coming back from Birmingham, I feel really good. And look what I've done. But actually, I've done that because it makes me happy. And it was just a really wonderful feeling. I was like, nobody's telling me to do this. I've decided. No one's dictating to me. No one's saying I can, I can't, this. I'm doing it and I'm listening. And genuinely, I realized at that moment, I'm in control of how I feel. So, people can help you, but people can also damage you by not listening. And it's like we say, you've always got those friends who will always pick you up and help you. But it's a very damaging career for some people. And I think, you just said it only takes one thing, and that can live with you for years, and you forget all the good stuff, and that's there niggling, and that's a dancer's mentality. And people outside a dancer's mentality don't understand how damaging or how much it bothers you, because again, it's in your head, so you have to sort it.
It's so funny because you're taking me back through my journey, and I've sort of thinking about all the good bits, but you do forget them. You remember all the bad bits. I remember when a teacher said to me, first day of the upper school, we're going to have to go back to the basics with you. I don't remember anything else from that year. I'm sure there was some good stuff mentioned. Can't remember. And but it's just all you just hang on to those bits and you forget all the good. And it is a dancer's thing. I mean, maybe it does go way back. But I think that it's all enhanced being in the dance industry, because we benefit from being self-critical, because that's where the improvement is. So we need to kind of go, okay, but I think it's the self-destruction thing that's the bit, isn't it? It's the, why couldn't I do that right? Instead of going, okay, so that was a bit off, let's try this. And it's like almost adapting, working through. But we are, and I've been guilty of it as a dancer, to go, that was rubbish. And that's not my voice. That's been internalized from teachers going back, but you just take it with you.
It's funny as well, as I got to what we call choreography in the old days, at the Royal Ballet, and to be honest, I genuinely mean this, I didn't ever feel I hadn't achieved anything because I hadn't gone higher in the company. That never bothered me. I think probably what bothered me was that maybe some of my colleagues were given opportunities that perhaps I felt I could have had a go at. It wasn't the fact that I thought that they shouldn't. So it was more of a fact that maybe if you just give me a little chance, I probably could have done that. So maybe that was slightly in my head and everything. And then when I got to BBO, and I was first there as head of membership, and then I was promoted to director of artistic development. And I went to Hammond just to see about some studios. And an ex-colleague of mine from the Royal Ballet came in, and she just looked at me and she went, "How on earth did you get that job?" And I looked and I was like, sorry. And she said, how did you get that job? And I said, because I've worked up and achieved it. And I was like, this person was somebody I'd looked at as a soloist in the company and thought, oh gosh, but actually it didn't, in that second, suddenly I thought, hey, I've done this my way. And actually I thought maybe it did bother me. So I don't know. It's weird. Know it was a thing until that moment. I thought maybe it was a thing, but at the moment I thought actually whatever. I've got this job because I deserve to get this job. So it was just that was just a moment that was really profound actually, and I walked away thinking that was very strange.
That's not nice at all. And like, it doesn't matter where you were in that company. This is separate. This is separate. And this is something that you are incredible at and you absolutely deserve. And look what you're doing now. That is, people can be so judgmental and base it on the ranks from the past. And oh, yeah. I mean, I think that people should be given more chances to try little things. I think that the BRB are especially good at doing that. If you're going on tour, they will give people roles here and there, and I think that that's really good. You can get your teeth into something new, but I don't think maybe enough companies are doing that, to give people the opportunities. And certainly in the past it wasn't a thing, was it? So you did what you were doing and that was kind of it. But you evolved in so many ways, and you're entrepreneur, businesswoman, doing some amazing things. And how dare this person say, how did you get the job? Nah.
It was just really, I'd never even thought that anybody would want to say that. That was what threw me. I was like, what? Anyway, it was one of those moments. I just thought it was very odd. Anyway, these things, yeah.
These things, yeah, part of the things that needs changing, I guess. But what would you say has been, I don't know, one of the best moments since starting all of this?
Okay, one of the best moments. Well, there's probably three. Um, the very first year that we started Grad Pro, and oh my goodness, so the final, which was at Elmhurst, everything went wrong. Like, when you have those kind of moments where you think, it's okay, if I just hide under a table, it'll all work itself out. But what was amazing was that everybody, like, everyone around helped. So the theatre was boiling hot. Then the headphones didn't work. So Brandon went backstage for an hour and a half on his phone, cueing everyone. I literally walked up to the lighting box and hid under the window thinking, this is going to scale. And it was all fine. It was all fine. But at the very end, Doreen Wells had come specially, and she bought this first edition of a book about palaver. And she bought it in, and I just said to her, do you want me to give that to the winner? She said, no, darling, I'm going to choose my own winner. So I said, fine. So she sat down, and at the very end, the award was given to Paige McGillicott, who was incredible. And Doreen got up, grabbed Brandon's arm, came up to the stage, walked up to Paige and gave her the Pavlova book and said, darling, you're the best Giselle I've ever seen, even better than me. And I just thought, oh my goodness, I actually can't do any more than that. It was quite incredible. And then I think the next big thing was the fact that the following year, I was approached about a month afterwards by a company who said, we'd like to give you £15,000 towards Grad Pro next year because we were so impressed on social media. So although that wasn't a massive thing, it was suddenly that it had been recognised. And the third thing was last Monday when I was in Birmingham and all 12 of them were doing the bar. And I just thought, you've got your own pre-professional programme. And whoever thought that was ever going to happen. So.
Oh, that's incredible. So how does the programme actually work? So what happens in that programme?
Okay, so they are, again, I took advice from various graduates from previous years and said, because originally I was going to do a year, and then I actually thought, I don't think they need a year. So I was told that the best time for them to be sort of engaged and focused, ready for auditions, would be September to December. So I thought, right, okay, let's try this. So they're on a 15-week program, 9 to 5, every day, no half term, straight through. And every day is different. They have a core of things that they're learning, obviously solos and rep, stagecraft. We're doing everything I could think of, makeup, hair, you name it, it's got to be there. And then I've got sort of every 3 weeks or 2 weeks, a guest is coming. For example, the week after next, we've got Cynthia Harvey coming up to teach for 3 days. And she's going to do some balancing rep for them. I've got Stephen Wicks coming up to teach them some MacMillan. I've got Bethany Kingsley-Garner coming down, obviously with some of Chris Hampson's sort of influence. We've got some Ashton. We've got Mark Baldwin coming. And then between all that, I've got choreographers coming in. And what I'm trying to do, two big things I'm doing, I'm trying to get Grad Pro Award winners who've shown real skill in choreography. In fact, one boy, David Bintley, said to me his choreography is amazing. So this guy is actually choreographing a piece for us. And then I've also got two graduates who are just on their MAs in music, a cellist and a pianist. And they're going to come and play live for the dancers so that they get used to working with sort of their age group who've done different skills. And then we're building up to a tour which has been sponsored by Lady Sainsbury and the Limbury Trust. And we're doing 4 performances in December, two in Birmingham, one in Manchester, one in Leeds. And the students will perform all these pieces. And we've hopefully got a world premiere of a Morgan Monica Temple piece. And also, I'm hoping on the 15th of December to do a gala at Elmhurst to raise money for Grad Pro. So they're working up to a performance, but alongside that, they're also having their CVs up, checked and sort of made better. They're having the show reels. So we're obviously encouraging them to go for auditions, and then we'll see how it happens. I'm hoping to get people in that will see them, and hopefully at the gala as well they'll be noticed.
Yeah, I was going to say, would it be like an open invitation? Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, because can you imagine, you do all this work, get everything, and then you have this gala, and then directors go, I want this dancer. It's incredible.
Yeah, which would be amazing. So that's the plan. And again, I'm trying it out. If it needs to get tweaked, that's fine. But you definitely, you just have to make well, we all know this. You have to make mistakes to get it right. And as long as they don't dwell on criticism, because of course we always do. I'm like, the other week somebody said to me, oh God, and I was like, Julie, that's nothing. Everything else is good. So we'll see what comes of it. And then obviously I'm just about to open up the dates for Grad Pro 2025. And next year for the actual event, I've also got a European heat next year in Zurich because it's been asked for. So that's exciting.
This is really, really exciting. You're changing the industry for the better.
I hope so.
Definitely. It is. I mean, I'm sure people listening are going to thinking, oh my God, whether they're coming up, they're going, I need to be a part of this, or they were a dancer and going, oh, this is just groundbreaking. This is profound. It is going to be changing the lives of dancers. I'm so sure of that. And I think you've probably got a lot more things in the pipeline with Grad Pro. Have you got any big plans? Because I'm sure, I think you're a very driven person, so I'm sure you've already got some big things.
Well, I obviously when I was thinking about, obviously now I've got to make some money, and I've left my job. I did start in the summer. I started what I've called Your Next Step Associates. And basically what I'm doing with that in Birmingham and Leeds at the moment is working on students from aged 11 up to 18. So basically trying to instill in them the ethos of Grad Pro, and start doing choreography with them at an early age, start doing contemporary with them and ballet. And they basically come for a day as opposed to a normal associate scheme. And then ultimately, my dream before I walk away on my Zimmer frame is that I'd like to have a company. This is the wrong word because these days this is interpreted wrong. A transition company, but as in the word from grad to professional, to have a company that is almost fluid, of my own, that and actually my ultimate, which I am going to do this year, my ultimate, I used to do a lot of choreography when I was teaching at Northern Ballet School, and I actually choreographed the one of the RAD events. I want to have my own piece in my own touring company, and actually that will come true this year because I'm going to choreograph. So hopefully, yes.
Wow. Wow. This is big stuff. This is huge. I know that you'll do it. I know that you'll do it. You'll have your company, or I don't know what what you'll call it, but it's just, oh, wow. My mind is officially blown. I think, being a dancer, you've got so much drive, but you have so much empathy for dancers and so much passion for what you want to do for helping them. And it's just wonderful. I'm almost overwhelmed with it because it's just so what people need. It really is, like, you're covering all the bases for preparing students for the professional careers, the mindset, like you said, the hair and makeup and all the things. Some people don't actually learn about that until they get into a company and they don't know how to do it. It is really, really important.
I think also, just to say, Birmingham Royal Ballet have been incredibly supportive about Grad Pro. I actually use the building so much, and I really have to say that that is a big plus for me to have that support. I mean, Dominic Antonucci has been amazing in even trying to help me secure a studio at BRB to do this. It didn't happen, and I have actually managed to get into the dance hub, which means we're in the same building at some point. But the actual, he's just mentioned loads of opportunities that could possibly come, and also the fact that I can use the studios. Hardly anyone use them, and I'm not going to give that away because I need them. But it's the feeling of being in those studios. The associates takes place in BRB 1 and 2. They're just, the kids are like, whoa, and it's all part of it. And actually, I think that's why I've been able to do this program. I did say to Dominic, we had a chat about it, and he said, Julie, if you want to make it happen, I know you will. And he just thinks he said it's a market filler and it needs to be there.
Absolutely agree. And that's so nice that he's supporting you and helping you along the way. It all helps when you've got people saying, this is amazing. This needs to be a part of every performer's life. It's really amazing. What would you say is the most important message for dancers today?
I think maybe not to feel that they've got to do it themselves, and not be afraid to ask, but maybe ask the right people. And I think also just remember there is other stuff outside. That doesn't mean you have to stop the dancing, but you can utilize it in a different way.
Yeah.
I did have a conversation with somebody the other day, and she was choosing between carrying on dancing and coming to the pre-professional course or going into a degree in medicine. And I said to her, what do you want to do? She said, I want to help people. And I said, well, you go and do the degree in medicine and you start a dance club at the uni, or you find you do dance in some other way. And she's actually gone and done that. I'm not saying that that was my decision, that was hers. But there was a point where you have to remember, I mean, this girl was a straight A student, and so you don't have to give it up. You just got to decide what's most important. But I think stay focused, absolutely believe in what you can do, because believe you me, you can do what you want to do.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you want to add? Anything that we've not mentioned today?
I don't think so. I think I probably just hopefully I'm helping. Hopefully everyone will, they're coming up to graduate age, and please look at how we can help you, because the brand is growing, and but the brand is very specific, and it's there to help. And I think I just want to say that you can literally do anything you turn your mind to, and just don't let anybody tell you you can't, because you can.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. Julie, I'm doing a new thing, and you're almost guinea pig. So at the end of my podcast, I'm going to ask everyone to ask me a question. It can be related, or it can be whatever you want to ask me.
Okay, and I was going to ask you this anyway, because I was curious. How did you end up coming into being interviewing in a podcast? What part of you made you realize that was what you wanted to do?
Do you know, I think that one of the things, certainly this won't be the case with your help, Julie, but when I was a dancer, I felt like I was a body that moved and had to execute steps well, but didn't have a voice. And I just felt like I couldn't speak. And even, when I had David Bintley on the podcast, it was just so healing, because I could say to him, even we had a conversation of the podcast, and I was like, I just never felt like I could speak to you. And it was just, but it was me. It was me. I just felt like I was too afraid to speak out, in fear that it would be wrong or not seen in the right way. I was just very anxious back then, and it did affect my dancing. So I thought, I've obviously I've become a lot more confident over the years. In fact, people can't really shut me up. But I was dabbling with the idea, because I love podcasts so much, and I just think it's really nice to just have a directional conversation, and people who are interested in specific genres, industries, they can just click and listen, and it's amazing. And I thought, how nice to speak out with people about what's going on behind the performing arts industry, to let people in. But every conversation I have, every time I'm reaching out and speaking and hearing myself speak, I'm like, God, listen to me. Like, I could never have done this. In fact, talking about, going under the table and stuff like that, Christmas dinners, if anyone said, so Candy, how's it going? I would have been like, oh God, I don't want this. Whereas now, I'm pretty sure they're just thinking, so Candy, you're going to shut up anytime soon. But I think I found my voice, but I wanted to utilize it.
Absolutely. And actually, funnily, one of the things about podcasts, and this is genuinely what I think dancers should remember as well, is the more you do something, the more you will enjoy and be confident. I mean, this is probably my fifth one now, and it's all come through Grad Pro. I was absolutely terrified the first time I did one of these, and now I really enjoy it. And I think, and it's not because I'm saying anything different, it's because I'm telling you what I believe, and I have confidence in what I'm saying. And I think you're absolutely right. It's, as dancers, we don't like talking anyway, do we? We do like, so it's expressing yourself through absolutely through your own voice. Brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah. It's just nice to be able to speak with so many people about what they're doing. And this podcast has brought me to life. It really, really has. It's given me, I mean, I love my family life. I love my kids, but this paired with my training to become a counselor, and it just feels so incredibly healing for myself. And I just think about how many people I'm going to help. I mean, who knows, in years to come, we could be working together, and I could be on the mental health team. Who knows? But I think, it's just helping people is such a passion for both of us, and how wonderful we can use that.
I think also, Candy, the fact is that, talking to people, you humanize people. I mean, for example, your interview with David which is actually what made you and I get in contact. I knew David as well, not as a director, but as a choreographer, and I had a similar thing. But I get really well with David. We have really good conversations. But these people are human. These directors are human. They were where you as dancers were. There's nothing magical. They are human beings, and I think that's probably in fact, if that's the message, probably just they are human beings. We're all the same. The fact that they're in a different job does not make them any better. I think that's perspective. Go back to the word perspective.
Definitely, Julie, that was a fantastic thing to say to end our podcast, because it really is absolutely true. We put the directors, everybody's so high up, and we go, oh, but they are people. They have fantastic jobs, but they are people, and we should be able to speak to them and just make it just a little bit more, not equal, but you know what I mean? Like we can have an equal conversation about what's going on with our career, and just to work through things together. I think that would be amazing. Julie, I have no words. You're amazing. You're absolutely amazing. It's been an absolute pleasure today. You are incredible. What amazing things you're doing.
Thank you for the opportunity, and it's so lovely to touch base with you, because obviously, again, you're a name out there that I always knew. So it's lovely when we all just come together, because we're on the same page.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Julie. You've been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Julie, I absolutely loved our conversation. I was felt with so much warmth, and it's interesting because when I'm doing recording remote, I don't always feel the warmth, but I really, really felt her warmth and her support and her true understanding of what a dancer really needs. And I'm sure that you would too. And even in the editing process of this, I just kept thinking, what a wonderful lady. So a special, special thank you to Julie Bowers. One thing to absolutely note is that after this season, I'm going to be taking a short break just because of all of the intensity of life's demands and what I'm studying at the moment. But I will be back. It's just a short break. I've been going at it for some time now, and I think Canny needs a break. But still tune in. It's a perfect opportunity to go back through them and listen to the ones that you've perhaps missed. So do make sure that you do that. Go through them all, see what you love, and like and subscribe and share and do all of those amazing things that you've been doing. And I really, really appreciate your support. So I've got a couple more episodes to go. So don't worry, you're not losing me yet. But thank you so much for all of your support. Bye for now.